Hello everyone, welcome to the White Day 1 Remake Labyrinth Named School config and tech video. Get my notes in my install folder for the game open up here. In this video we will be setting up White Day 1 Remake, general and advanced settings where needed. This will hopefully put the game in the best playable state it can be. Any links that are covered in this video will be in the description below. This over here is your install folder, and by default you will have, I believe, just these 3 files that I've highlighted, and I'll explain what these other files are in just a minute here. So the first thing we're going to start with is screen modes. My recommendation is to run the game in the native borderless windowed full screen mode. Set the FPS or your frame rate option in the game under game options for your desired frame rate. Let me explain all this a little further here. By default, the game runs in a borderless windowed full screen mode. This is ideal if you need to Alt-Tab between other programs and stuff, but not ideal for performance purposes of running a game in most cases. Generally, you want to run a game in full screen or exclusive full screen modes. This way the game is the direct focus of the PC as well as for frame rate reasons. I just think is good practice for PC gaming. By all means, if you need to Alt-Tab a lot, then use some form of windowed mode. You can force this game to run in exclusive full screen mode with a command. If you right-click your White Day 1 Remake, go ahead and add the 1 in there for OCD purposes. If you right-click the game in Steam, go to Properties, a window will pop open and you will see launch options at the bottom. Type the following: -window, -mode, space, exclusive, in the typing area. So just that as that appears. Then click the X at the top right of the window to save the command. I don't advise using this command, however, for this game. The reason is that it messes up your options screen when you adjust the sliders. It makes the Windows desktop flash in and out. It may also do some other things throughout the gameplay that might be unexpected. Another reason is you will also get screen tearing in your game. If you don't know what screen tearing is, please search that. There's a Wikipedia page that talks all about it. Unless you go into your NVIDIA options and you force on VSync, as the in-game FPS option is a frame rate limiter, but not proper VSync. If you have a G-Sync TV monitor, then you won't get screen tearing. I will be playing in the borderless windowed full screen mode, 60 FPS limit in-game options, no forced NVIDIA VSync. If you are playing in windowed mode, the game will be auto-synced accordingly. So this is how I would recommend you play. And as I stated, the borderless windowed full screen mode is the default. The game does not run natively in full screen mode. You may also encounter a black screen when you start with only sound. This has not happened to me, but if it does, here's what you can do. Press Alt-Enter on your keyboard to go into windowed mode. Then press Alt-Enter again to go back into borderless windowed full screen mode. This should clear it and give you your visuals. So that covers that. So now we're going to get into this next thing here that's called Sue's Hack. And I will put this link in the description for you to access. It's basically a little configuration tool. To use this in-game, once you've installed it, press F11 key on your keyboard. That's how you bring up the little interface for it. This little configuration tool adds the following to the game. I'm going to give you a little warning here. The file winhttp.dll, which is this file right here, may trigger your antivirus to try and quarantine it. You may need to pull it from quarantine and or exclude it from future scans. These are common situations when dealing with PC mods and configurations. I should say, and configuration tools. I actually recognize this tool, BEPINX, or BEPINEX. You can see the folder here, as I used it not too long ago to mod the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters with. It is a modding tool for PC games running under the Unity game engine, which White Day is using. So when you install this mod, you're going to get this folder, this DLL, this .md, which is essentially a text file, this text file, this INI, and this text file. These three are the original files for the game, and then everything highlighted is SUSEHack. So the in-game GUI options for SUSEHack, when you press F11, this is what you will see. An option for anisotropic filtering, and you can either disable, enable, or force disable. In the config file, it is labeled as force enable and not force disable. So I'm inclined to go by the config file description and not what it shows in the in-game GUI. Just use the option enable is my recommendation to be safe that you get the functionality of this option. The force disable seems to be switched around and actually is force enable, but just use enable. You'll see little buttons. I will show you this UI in the game in this video. We will go into the game and I will show you options of what they look like, but you'll see little like dots that you have to select, and when the dot is filled in, then the option is enabled. Next option you will see is a proper speaker mode option, and you can go from stereo to quad, surround, 5.1, 7.1, and Pro Logic. On my YouTube videos, the sound is only going to come across as stereo regardless. I will at least hear it in 7.1 surround though through my headset. By default, the game is only allowing you really a stereo option, but this will let you listen to it in the other proper speaker modes. And then it has a cheats section as well. These are disabled by default. The first one is called movement interpolation. It prevents the player from being unable to move when using a higher frame rate option, which I will cover. If you are only going for 60 FPS, then you don't need to use this function. Next option is allow saves on very hard. There is no very hard mode in the remake, so I assume they mean hell mode, which as far as I know doesn't allow saves, so that would make sense. Probably just a typo. Like this is just a typo. Disable AI enemies view sight. Enemies can't see you. Basically makes them blind in the game. So those are the in-game options you can adjust. Now this is going to cover a configuration file for SUSEHack. There are other settings to adjust, but for some reason they're only in the configuration file of this tool. They aren't present in the GUI of the tool in the game, the graphic user interface. So let's go to that file now and I will show you the rest of the options. So I suggest you run the game once in general and then run it again with this tool installed so that the files, appropriate configuration files, can be created. Then exit, go ahead and, set the anisotropic filtering, the speaker mode, and these 3 cheats the way you want to set them up in the game. Then exit the game, and then what you want to do is come in here and open the BEP-INEX folder. You want to go to the config folder, and you want to open sushack.cfg. Should just open in a notepad. And then here you will see a list of more options here. Let me see what I wrote here. Okay, so the first one you're going to see here is this, and it's called Save Pins. I'm assuming this is whether they are unlimited or if they get consumed upon use, as this is what you use to save your game, and they are limited in the game. Don't forget the game autosaves on PC as well after important moments. You get 1 autosave slot in the game, and then I think 5 individual save slots. So you can always fall back on that autosave. I say here, maybe not on hell mode, I don't know. I don't think you get any saves on hell mode. I think it's once you die, you might be able to continue, but I'm not sure how that works. But I don't think you can save, so I would assume autosaves would be disabled on hell mode, unless you turn it on here. I'm curious, based on the difficulty you pick, if you are given less or more pins to save with on the other difficulties. I looked online but couldn't get a straight answer, so I am unsure. I'm sure this varies even more depending on if you're playing the original or the remake. Let me know in the comments if you know the answer. How many pins do you get on each difficulty? Are they different amounts? So it's going to be set to false, so if you put this on true, then that should enable unlimited pins or pins that do not get consumed. Then the next option is allowing saves on very hard difficulty, which this is the option you can configure yourself within the game, but you can also configure it here. So if you turn that on in the game and then you look at it in this file, it is going to say true instead of false. False means disabled, true means enabled. Next setting is God mode, on or off, basically invincibility. Next setting is disable guard sight. This is the same thing that was already in the game settings. And then you have disable stamina, on and off for the purposes of running in the game. Pretty sure that's where your stamina comes into play. Once your stamina kind of runs out, you can't run anymore. You might move slower. And I do believe the stamina bar is invisible in the game. It's present and active, but you don't actually get to see it. So whether you want stamina on or off. And so that's cheats. Then the next category is general. This is a workaround for an issue related to refresh rate, where some monitors, instead of using, let's say, 240 Hz refresh as advertised, report something dumb like 239.958 Hz. As Unity expects integers are refresh rate, this then ends up being 239 Hz instead of 240. So this option increases it by 1 as a workaround. So you put this on true. There's an option which is built in to the mod, and it'll be reflected in the game options. I may have written this here. Yes. Higher FPS options. This will be reflected in the in-game settings if your TV monitor is capable of more than 60 FPS, which mine is not. But if yours is capable of 120, then you will be able to select 120 in the game. But there's situations where instead of it saying like 120, it might say 119, which you don't want. So then you would in turn use this option in the mod to increase that 119 by 1 frame rate to make it 120. So that's what this is related to. Your next option is the graphics, which this is enabled in the GUI of the mod. I'm calling it a mod, whatever, configuration tool. It's a mod, basically. So changes anisotropic filtering, disable, enable, or force enable. So as you can see here, it says force enable, but in the GUI it says force disable. So yeah, it says by default it's set to force enable, but I just put it on enable. And then within this setting page, you can configure the amount of anisotropic filtering you get, which would be from 2 to 16 being the max. I suggest using 16. And let me see anything here. And I wrote a description here about, for example, if you were going for 120 and you're only getting 119. Okay, and then the speaker mode. By default, the game runs in stereo, but 3D sounds can be played with other speaker modes. Available options are, apparently you can put it in raw or mono if you want, stereo, which is the default, and then quad, surround, mode 5.1, mode 7.1, and Prologic. 5.1 representing or the 5.1 representing 5.1 surround, and then 7.1 representing the 7.1 surround. So you can see the default setting is stereo, and I have 7.1 surround headset, so I am using mode 7.1. And that will conclude the settings for Sue's hack here. So yeah, just be aware you have to come into this config file located in the folder that you install for the mod. Just go into config and you're looking for this, the BEPINEXCFG. There's nothing in here you need to mess with. This can all stay as it is. This is just regards into this internal program that helps make Sue's hacks work, do its thing, so leave those alone. Save your settings and X out. Write another option here, vertical axis inversion, properly applied to the mouse input. I'm assuming this is done automatically as there is no setting in Sue's hack, in-game or in the config file for this. In-game, they don't call it inversion either, they call it reversal, but it's basically if you want to invert your controls. So like if you move your mouse up, it'll make your character look down instead of your character look up, vice versa with moving the mouse down. But I'm not going to be messing with inversion, so it doesn't matter. But it's properly applied now through Sue's hack. Okay, so with all that being said, here's what I will be using in Sue's hack. The anisotropic filtering mode enabled and set to 16. The surround mode of 7.1, the vertical axis inversion auto-applied, I assume, and then I won't be using any cheats at all, which would be movement and interpolation I don't need because I am only going for 60 frame rate. I won't be allowing saves on very hard, aka hell mode, because it doesn't apply. I'm not playing hell mode in my playthrough, I'm playing hard mode. And I'm also not using Disabling the enemy's view. I'm not disabling that. I'm not using God mode, and I'm not turning my stamina off either. And no need to use the FPS by 1 option, because I'm not going for the higher frame rates. So I just wanted to cover, that's what I will be using in this mod. Nothing to alter the gameplay in any way. Okay, so that covers that. So these are all the files you will have with the base game. Talking about the Steam version here, because that's what I'm playing, is the Steam version. And then once you include the mod, in here it will add all of these files, and of course everything that's in this folder. But your only thing of concern in here is the SUSE hack config that is located in the config folder of this mod. You don't need to mess with anything else. So now I'd like to cover the actual options in the game with you. So the first category of in-game options is graphics, and the only option to adjust is the screen brightness. I set this slider to max. Set this according to the reference image provided. But in my case, I needed to put it all the way max. Game can be pretty dark in a lot of cases. Your next category of options will be sound. You'll have play master sound, set this to on. Then master sound volume I have maxed. Play sound effects set to on. Effects sound volume maxed. Play background sounds, set this to on. And then background sound volume set to max. If this background sound, if this is actually music, which I think it is, I may set this to 50% for recording purposes later. It depends on how loud the music is. But I will start with putting that maxed. Your next category will be game options. You'll have subtitle languages. I'll put this on English, pick your preference. And then viewing the subtitles, on or off, I'm putting this on. And then your voice language, I'm picking English, pick your preference on that. View tutorials, I'm going to put those on. Use bloom effect on. Use SSAO on. Use depth of field off. I generally don't like DOF. Pick your preference if you like it, then leave it on, but I will be leaving it off. Display shadows on. Screen resolution, I'm going to be running at 1920 by 1080. Pick your preference here. Then FPS or frame rate, I'll be running at 60. Pick your preference. You should have higher options if you have the ability. I'm capped at 60 Hertz FPS for my TV. And don't forget this setting is a FPS limiter, not true VSync. If you are playing in borderless windowed full screen, which you should be, then vertical sync doesn't matter anyway. But if you do decide to use the exclusive full screen mode in the launch options, be aware you will experience screen tearing unless you are using a G-Sync monitor. So you will then in turn need to go into NVIDIA or your AMD graphics card and force on VSync. Full screen mode on. Keep in mind the game is running in borderless windowed full screen mode, unless you do the launch option mentioned above, which I don't recommend for this game. So yeah, even though it has a full screen mode, it's technically not in full screen mode. It basically just puts it in full screen borderless mode. Next category and last will be controls. And you'll have cursor speed, vertical speed, and horizontal speed, which I've all set to low. Pick your preference here and adjust further through your mouse DPI controls if you need to. And then you'll have horizontal and vertical reversal, which is basically the inversion option. off or on. I will be leaving this off. Then vibration, just turn this off unless you're using a controller. You're not going to get vibration otherwise. And then keyboard, keybind adjustments, pick your preference here. I'll cover the controls for the game when we get into the gameplay. So in the next video, we'll finish this video by going into the game. I will run down the settings we just covered with you visually. I'll cover the Sue's pack tool in-game and the in-game options. In the next video, we'll be getting directly into the gameplay. So I'm going to do a quick edit cut here in this video, and then we'll see you in the game. So thank you for watching. Bye. Hello everybody, welcome to the in-game configuration portion of the White Day 1 Remake Labyrinth Named School video. So I'll show you here the Sue's hack first. I already have it open at the top. You just press F11 and it pops open this little screen up there. And then here you can see the anisotropic filtering tells you what the option you have it enabled on or set on, and put that on enabled. And then I have 7.1 selected. That's why it says 7.1 here. And then cheats, you have 3 little dots here, or check marks. The one for the character interpolation if you're running at higher frame rate than 60, which you can see my readings over there to the right. And then you have autosaves on hell mode, on or off, and then disabling the guard's view sight. So this is all you can adjust through the GUI of the Sue's hack, and everything else you will have to do through the configuration file like I already showed you. So when you're done configuring that, just press F11 again, and you can always press it just to check what things are set on. And then now I will cover the general settings with you. So we'll go into graphics here. Then here's where you have the slider for your brightness. You can see the little symbol you have as a reference. Just adjust that according to your screen. Then your sound, basically put everything on, and then max everything volume wise. Then your game options, subtitles, view subtitles, voice language, tutorials, bloom, SSAO, depth of field, display shadows, your resolution, and then your frame rate. Like I said, remember this is just a frame rate limiting option and not VSync. And then full screen mode, just go ahead and put that on. And that should about cover that. I just have depth of field off because that's my preference. And then your controls, your speed of the cursor, whether you want inversion, vibration, and then your keybind settings here. And you can see these are my options. You get forward, backward, left and right movement, sprint, crouching and standing, lighter or your flashlight on and off, a back button in menus, open menu, select or use key, view map, tab left or right in menus, and then there's a quick rotation or a quick turn button in the game, which is nice and very handy. A lot of games don't have a quick turn button in them, but some do. And for the games that do have it, it's always a good action to remember that you can do, because it will help you in gameplay. So that basically covers the in-game control configuration I wanted to cover. and about everything I have to say about the game, mostly, until we get into gameplay, which we will do in the next video. So thank you very much for watching the Config and Tech video, and I will see you in the next video, which will be gameplay. Thank you. Bye.